It's Way Up with Angela Yee, and I have somebody who I've been wanting to talk to for quite some time. I know we keep on discussing it, but you were like, the time is right now. Erica Ford is here. What's up?
Peace. The time is right now.
The time is right now. And I love every time I see you when you say, I just got some good news. Because it feels like that happens a lot. And, you know, we met while you still have Life Camp. You created Life Camp.
Yes.
But that's your baby.
Yes.
And
Yes.
December 31st, I saw you said you're
Transitioning from running the day-to-day operation.
Okay.
So I will no longer be the executive director. I will no longer be hiring people. I will no longer be signing time cards. I will no longer be like, you're supposed to be at work doing this, like all of that day-to-day stuff. I'm no longer going to be doing that, which is an extreme, like anybody who runs a business knows what day-to-day operation is.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. It has taken a toll on me. But I put in my time. You know, it's 22 years, 23 years. I don't even remember.
Which is amazing to have. And so for people who are listening who maybe don't know Life Camp, you know, shame on you. But can you tell people what Life Camp is and the work that you guys have
Way
done?
Up with Life Camp. We are a not-for-profit organization based in Jamaica, Queens, but has footprints across the nation, across the world, really. We are one of the leading violence prevention organization in the nation. That's right. I said it. Erica Ford, fact check. Anybody who wants to dispute, give me a call.
Yep.
But we've worked from the hood to the White House. We've been able to move billions of dollars across the United States to help people start up these businesses, to hire formerly incarcerated men and women at a very high scale, and you know, really reduce violence across the nation and help change and transform a lot of young people's lives in a lot of communities.
And when people see you, they love you. You know, because peace is definitely something that I always see you talking about the weekend where there was no gun violence, no guns in New York, you know, which is a major feat.
It's a major feat. And imagine, right? Just imagine, like, if you had a weekend, you sold a lot of coffee or a lot of juices, right? You're going to look at what happened that weekend. How do we keep it going?
Right.
Right? This city, right? Most places don't do that. They don't invest and keep growing what works, right? We really have to cultivate what works. Although the city is doing stuff and, you know, supporting the work, but we have to be scientists. We got to really hone in on what works and expand it. And in most of the areas in which the CMS sites, there's several sites in each borough. We got True to Life in Staten Island. We got Bragg and Release the Grip in the Bronx and several others. We got Save in Harlem. You know, a lot of folks, Operation Hood, Man Up in Brooklyn, and a lot more. We're in Queens, 100 Suits is in Queens, but it's like, it's all over 5 boroughs. And then we're all over the state.
Right.
Right? We just did a training with a practicum that we did a partnership with the University of Chicago. And so we're training folks who are starting this work on leadership from around the. So we had 38 folks from 21 different cities, training them how to do this work in the real sense, right? The practicum. And then while we were in the practicum, we found out that our graduation for these folks are going to be at the White House on February 16th.
That's huge.
That's huge.
Yes, that's
right?
amazing.
These
I
are
love
folks
that.
who have been incarcerated for 20, 30 years, 16 years, you know, and so now to come home and be able to do this work, and then on top of it, be able to graduate at the White House, right? Where none of them.
That's going to be such a surreal moment for so many people and for their families.
Yeah, so you coming to celebrate with us.
Oh, I would love to. Let me put that on my calendar because that does sound great. And when people were talking about defund the police, you know, that's something that I feel like was something that you've been having those conversations about. I know the messaging for some people got a little lost, but it's also allocating money because when you started doing this work, it wasn't like there was a budget. Like, here, we're going to give you money to get an RV so you can go around. It wasn't like that.
Right. It took me 15 years to get that RV and to advocate for that RV. I started doing this work December 12th, 1987. It's going to be 36 years in a week.
That is
in
huge.
A week. Yeah. Now that I sit here and realize that, and in joining the December 12th movement, it made me realize that it's something more than myself. We have to dedicate our lives to something more than ourselves. And so there was no violence prevention. There was no CVI. We was marching to the crack house, closing the crack house, and really organizing. And what motivated me even more to work with the young people was seeing what happened when their parents went to jail, when their parents were killed in this crack epidemic. And so, I started and never looked back
And even when you talk about like kids and their parents, even for you thinking about, your father and your relationship or lack of being able to have one, with your father, that probably, definitely impacts how you feel about government, how you feel about war, how you feel about,
correct,
a lot of different things, even in sometimes in ways that you don't realize at first.
No, that's a fact, right? And this year was a true awakening year for me, 2023, because, when I got sick and I don't know what the hell is going on, I'm sitting by myself. I literally had to sit down and rest because I totally depleted my nervous system, right? And in sitting down, I'm looking at my life. I'm looking at my journey. And I'm saying, my father was in the Vietnam War and died, and that is inside of me. And then the anger, like people say, why are you angry? I'm angry because my father was killed senselessly, and then these kids are still being killed senselessly, right? And people will say we're not in a war in New York City, right? But people who are getting stomped out by the police or, shot down in their hood, we're at war. Right. They're trying to survive. They're in flight or fight mode, right? And that brings your nervous system to a space that is unhealthy, right? If you wake up every day in a war zone, that's not healthy.
When you wake up and go outside, like, let's go fight. I'm just trying to fight to stay alive, to be able to make it home.
Right. I was watching the news yesterday, and all these folks are talking about the attacks that they had on the train, right? Which I don't take the train anymore, right? Because I don't have the capability to look all over you're in a war zone.
And when you're on that train and then the doors closed and you're in between stops, you just don't. And it's funny because I haven't taken the train since the pandemic, but I'm like, the traffic is so congestion pricing is coming.
Yeah, I know.
And the trains are really, because I was trying to figure out what is this going to mean, because $15 to be driving in the city on top of any other tolls you might have to pay, on top of paying for parking.
Yeah, I'm going to have to pay though.
But some people can't. Think about people who are another $15 on top of everything else I have to pay every day.
And that's the war, right? That's the violence. Because why do we have to pay? Right? Why are we living in these conditions where I got to drive 17 miles to get quality food?
Right.
Right? Our kids, you got to lie about your address to put them in a school in another district.
And then that's a crime.
Right.
And you can we've seen people go to jail
for
that.
But it's not a crime to miseducate me. Right? It's not a crime to put me in a special ed class and give me Thorazine and whatever them other drugs that they give the kids during school hours because they uncontrollable. I was in detention as a kid all the time. I was in trouble all the time. They said I talk too much. Obviously, I talk for a living now. You weren't able to cultivate my leadership, my greatness, right? Instead of you cultivating my greatness, you punished my greatness. Made me feel like I was doing something wrong.
Right.
But I was a leader, right? And so I used to get beat in school. They used to have me stand with my hands up.
Oh, my gosh.
And they used to beat me with a ruler. Had me stand in Catholic school. It was torture. And so when I think back, right, all of this is part of the trauma that I went through. I was ducking bullets as a teenager. When we go out to parties, we're in shootout. We were in mass shootings and didn't know we were in mass shootings.
And then everybody runs and you don't, I definitely have been in those situations.
We were under cars and everything, and you watching your friends die right there next to you, and all of this had a traumatic impact on my life. But I never stopped to say, I was in a mass shooting. I just kept going.
Right.
We just keep going.
And it took you being sick to really sit down and think about all of those things. And, and I know last time I saw you, we were talking about the marijuana licensing.
Correct.
Because you were one of the first
Right.
to get a license
Right.
in New York, but that did not mean that battle was over. So can you talk to me about that process? And you bought this amazing merch for me, Cushion Kemet.
Yes.
And what the process has been for you guys to even get to the point where you can open up a dispensary or a lounge or anything.
We have been in this process for over a year now, and folks were moving. The landlords are racist here in New York City. They're racist. We will get to a point where we're getting ready to sign a lease, and then we don't want to do cannabis, right? And so they take us for a 3-month process, and then we don't want to do cannabis. Right? You didn't know that when we first started talking?
Right, but we talked for 3 months.
Right. When we signed the LOI, you didn't know that? Now we get ready we're in the middle of negotiating a lease, and now you want to say you don't want to do cannabis? Right? And then the other one was like, oh, I got a mortgage, and we can't do, like, you didn't know you had a mortgage? With like, and it's so many different things that have happened to us on the road that it's not an accident. Right? And then we get into this lawsuit with these MSOs who want to be the dominant force in the city. Plain and simple. They wanted to be the first ones to go, so they slowed down the process.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And they waited for, now all, the licenses is open. Anybody can apply.
So even being one of those first people to get it, now it's like, and that was expensive also, the whole process too, because aside from all of that, right, how much, like, people say, okay, we're going to give these licenses to people who were formerly incarcerated for marijuana.
Right.
And they'll be given some type of
and the communities that were impacted. So we were getting equity, right? But it cost each one of those spaces that we went, we had to do a security plan. We had to get architects. We had to do all of these different designs. We had to, people had to work, right? And so we're paying people, but there's no money coming in for this, right? And so now, the beginning of last week, the injunction was finally lifted. The judge signed. All the card licenses are back in place. And actually, 420 today, there's a meeting that allows us to know what the new rules are and everything else, right?
Okay.
And so we're in the motion now. We are, we're in the motion to open up and look to open up real soon.
Do you have a location yet?
I'm not going to say we have it because I don't want no more.
Let's not jinx it. Okay,
we're in the city. That's what I can say. We're in the city, and so we look forward to opening up so that we can provide equity, right? So that we can, when we talk about quality food, we'll be able to provide quality food. We'll be able to provide a 24-hour state-of-the-art center in our community, right? And help other people who are doing this same kind of work in giving back to what it is. But because we need equity.
Right.
We can't,
absolutely.
And so all of those who are listening, it's the end of the year. If you need a foundation to donate to because you done spent too much or got too much money.
Yep.
Like
I be
hearing Fat Joe talk about all that money he made. LifeCampInc.com/donate, Joe. Like, we need.
Who's going to be running day to day at Life Camp?
So there's 2 young ladies.
Okay.
They're going to be the co-executive directors. I'm not saying that I'm not, powerful, that I had to get 2 or 3 people to replace me.
But that's, you started it, you created it, you founded it, and it was a lot of work for you to be able to do that. But now, hopefully, funding, a budget. And,
we went from $5,000 to a $5 million budget.
So you should definitely hire 2
co-executives. But $5 million is not a lot. It's not enough.
Right. It's not.
It's not, because when you look at trying to give somebody a decent salary, right? And then we pay our kids to participate in programs because we know young people need to be paid, want to be paid, right? And so they're in our work program.
Right.
And then all of the other programs that you have. And then space, right? Rent for space. Just like the police have a fleet, we need a fleet so that we can respond. Events. Like, so all of these things cost money. And a lot of people be like, yo, I represent the streets. Yo, I'm about the streets. But the streets is need help. The streets is crying for help, right? And so how do we put the money? The Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, they ain't helping the kids that we help, right? And so we really need people to support our work, to give back to Life Camp, to volunteer for Life Camp, and continue that work and support, which is why we partner with Paper Planes.
Yep.
Right?
I saw you with Lauren London. It was her birthday, too.
I got on my Lauren London Protect Your Peace outfit right now.
Puma. Okay, we like it. That's cute. I love that. I think she's amazing.
She is amazing.
Just the way that she's always been because I do know Lauren London personally too, even before Nipsey, but even seeing how she keeps his legacy alive.
Yes.
But just her as a human being, she's never thirsty for attention.
No.
She does what she does, minds her business. Happy to see her out there working too, and back.
Yes. And yesterday was her birthday, so hopefully she had a wonderful birthday.
Happy birthday, Lauren. And so talk about the partnership you have with Paper Planes.
So we partnered. They have a slogan: "Greatness is a process." And we have a slogan, "Peace is a lifestyle." And we wanted to bring those two entities together to help transform young people's minds. When you look at Emory, who came out and helped a lot of formerly incarcerated men as well, and women, learn from him and see him and what he did for Plains and how it is now grow to and the same thing we want to do with people on the question of peace as a lifestyle, because in order to really have greatness, you got to have peace in your life. You can't be, when you talk about Lauren London, right, it's to protect your peace. Like, she is serious about protecting her peace, and that's how we want most people to be, and that's why we want them to join the movement. There's very few crowns left, given one of the last to Angela Yee right now. We're gonna have more merch come out together. We're gonna continue to do events and push the two missions, right? Because the mission is more important than the actual material. The material supports the work, and the different ways that we can connect to organizations or entities or corporations to build a message and to bring where young people go to show, because young people don't like to be part of something that's not cool.
Right, of course not. Listen, no one does.
Right. Right. Even though we're all dead Knicks fans, but they keep losing, we still support the Knicks, right?
Yeah.
They're the only
and the Nets, I love my Brooklyn Nets.
But they winning though, ain't they?
Yeah,
they both are winning now.
Yeah.
Represent New York City.
Yeah. I always have higher hopes for us, but, maybe this year is the year. But, okay, go ahead.
But we just really want people to support Life Camp. We want them to join and help us build this to a whole nother level. And that's why we're going, national, working with folks, training. That's what I'm going to be doing a lot of now.
Okay.
Training, and especially training women in this work. And because I know as a Black woman doing this work, I was constantly all of the above. And so I want to give some of the stuff that I learned to other women who are stepping into this field.
See, and so I want to discuss also because, obviously you work closely with the White House, and I'm sure that's had a lot of ups and downs for you too. And people talk about politics so much right now as we're getting ready to see what's going to happen.
Right.
Certain things are very scary to me when we look at who's in the White House, but also local government, we know matters a lot, and you work a lot with local politicians.
Yes.
And so what would you say to people now who are listening when it comes to people don't trust politicians, people have issues with the whole voting process, people also need to know, how can I change policy? Because you guys have been able to get policies changed. I saw recently they introduced something about, not putting people in confinement, solitary confinement, in jail. A lot of things are a long process to get done, and change does not happen overnight at all when it comes to government.
You're absolutely correct. And the White House just opened a White House Office of Violence Prevention, which is something that we've been working on for a very long time. And I would say stay with it, right? Because what else are you going to do, right? When we talk about the judges, people talk about they don't want their people to go to jail, but we vote the DAs in, but we're not voting, right? And so if you don't like the DA, vote.
Yeah,
right?
And you can also make your voice be heard to people around you. You can run. You can tell somebody else to run. You can advocate for somebody who's running that you would support.
And if you're not in the process, you're standing on the outside watching the process, and it's impacting your life either way. And so why not be an active participant in your life, right? And so I don't believe that voting is the end all and the be all to what we have to do, but it is a part of the process, and you have to participate in the process. I think that it is important for us to vote and vote the right people, because if we voted, we could change elections.
We have.
Yes, and we have. And in most communities, because all politics are local, most communities, 500 people could change the way the vote swings.
Yeah.
Right? And most of the people from 18 to 44 are not active voters, right? And so I remember when I first started doing this work, a politician said to me, if it wasn't for you, Erica, we wouldn't be doing nothing with those folks because they don't vote. They don't they don't financially support us. We don't owe them nothing because we don't even have an interaction. They don't even exist to us.
So your issues aren't an issue to us because it don't matter. Yeah.
Correct. So we have to be an active participant. So I would urge people to get their children involved in voting, to educate them about who are the politicians. I would urge parents to come out to their children's school and let their voices be heard, even if you're calling or you're FaceTiming somebody, but be active because these people are controlling your life and your children's life, and just as we're on a note, you have to be active in your child's life. You got to know who and what they're talking about.
Right. Yes.
You have to make fake pages on social media.
Because they have too much access now you don't have any idea.
And it's dangerous.
Right.
People are being killed from social media, right? People are being raped from social media. People are being kidnapped from social media. You have to protect your children. And the only way you could do that is being an active participant in their life, and that means checking their room. If you paying the phone bill, check their phone. You can't it's like
Teray isn't here. She's I've known her since she was very young. Her mom used to always have her out, and she would be places doing. Have you ever interviewed Erica Ford?
Actually, I have not, but I have marched.
Yeah. Okay, so you've marched with her, but her mom is very active in making sure. Like when I met her, she probably was like 14. Yeah, 14 years old, and now in college and doing the thing and amazing. And so she's up here just kind of like soaking in the knowledge, but she's very active. But to see how active her mom was in making sure she was there and getting things done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's That's an inspiration.
If you're not active in your child's life, somebody else is going to be active in your child's life, and you have to. You have to. I've heard parents say, like, I don't want to get them mad or they didn't want me to do that. But I would rather them be mad at me and alive than me standing over a casket and talking about what I shoulda or woulda or coulda did.
And I think about how many things you must have seen in almost 40 years of the work that you've been doing when you talked about being sick and thinking about like the trauma that you have, but the things that you've witnessed, that has to be really heavy also.
Yeah, I've definitely witnessed a lot. It's definitely heavy, and it's not getting light.
Right.
Which is the sad part, right? When you look back, I've been watching some of them old movies, and you look back at us as Black folks in America. We were always sharp. We controlled our community. We controlled the economy in our community. And now we've switched and so they make us believe that we don't have the power to control ourselves, right? And I think that if we slow down and work together and stay focused on what is important, which is your children, and then as a community, we can resolve a lot of the issues, because when you look at things that are in other people's community, it is because they stand up together,
right,
and don't let it happen in their community. And so we need to follow suit.
How many people have tried to make you run for office?
Everybody. A lot, right. And I did it once. I fell victim. And then that was when
You said I fell victim. But, at the same time, that could be something.
Nah. So I'm saying we should vote, right? And other people should run. But don't get me twisted. That is a game. That is that's a whole nother conversation at another time. But what power do you really have, right?
Right.
And then you're so indebted to the people who got you in office.
Listen, Hill Harper's running, right?
Yes, I believe in Hill Harper.
In Michigan.
100.
But the stuff that he's going through, and he's like, I had this conversation, I wasn't going to say anything. It's like shocking.
Yo, Angela, I've seen more shit in politics than I did on the streets.
Wow, I believe it.
People, when I ran for office, people's lives were threatened. Their funding was taken away. One lady, they harassed her so much, she had a heart attack and died.
Oh, my God.
Right? I've seen what has happened in politics. Politics is a dirty game. It is a dirty game.
And some people feel like they can get in there and clean it up, and they don't know. It is...
No, they get in there and get You know, I remember one lady said, the more good I did, the more blackballed I got.
Right.
Right. And that's, and you know, I've been blackballed a whole lot, you know, but I stayed focused on the mission. Right. And that's these young people.
Right.
That's our future. Right. And so we owe it to our children. It is our inherent right to live free of violence. It is our inherent right to live free of all of these human rights violations. And the only way we could do it is by being an active participant. So if you don't know how to do that, join Life Camp, you know, volunteer, lifecampinc.com, donate, or join an organization near you. There's a lot of organizations that are really active in doing this work all over the nation.
Right.
So, like, if you don't know one, hit us up. We'll direct you to one in your local organization. But you got to do something.
Right. Well, I'm excited to partner on some things.
Yes.
You know, coming up, I have some brainstorming ideas already. But that's important to me also. And so I just wanted to make sure that we had you up here. LifeCamp.org.
LifeCampInc.com.
LifeCampInc.com. Okay, LifeCampInc.com. Yes. Let's make sure everybody goes on there and donates. And like you said, it is the end of the year. People need those.
Tax
I'd rather
write-offs.
get my money here.
Exactly.
Okay, to LifeCampInc.com.
Than the IRS, because it's going somewhere.
It's going somewhere. Yeah, so why not
right.
let it do some great things?
Exactly.
Man.
And 36 years, I don't think that I need to prove that I'm not taking people money. Like, it's never been about money for me.
Never.
If it was about money, I would be working someplace else.
I've never heard anybody say anything negative about you. Like, from all the people that I've seen you working with, and you've touched a lot of lives, and you've managed to bring in a lot of people who may otherwise have not participated.
Correct.
You know, so
that's the people I work with, the people that don't nobody else want to work, because we can't throw our kids away.
Yeah, absolutely not. All right, so we're going to be watching also for Cushion Chemic, because that's important too.
Very.
You know, the cannabis company, the cannabis industry.
It's billions of dollars.
Billions of dollars. And
we're not the ones making those money.
And also the fact that it was something that was criminalized for so long, and now we look at people talking about the health benefits of it and the medicinal part of it. And
But let's not overthink. When you say criminalized, that means people went to jail.
Yeah, people went to jail.
People died. People's families was disrupted. And so where's the real equity, right? Where's the real equity? And I need New York State to work harder to give folks equity for this business that is supposed to give equity to communities. And shout out to Chris Alexander, who is the head of OCM. He's in there bobbing and weaving and punching back and fighting to maintain. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
It's true. And when you have a criminal record, there's so many things that you can't do, or so many things that are harder to accomplish.
Correct.
In many different ways, when it comes to housing, when it comes to work, even getting your real estate license or getting licensed in many things.
And those are all the people who are making the money.
Right.
They're the ones who are still getting paid, because the real estate, the lawyers, the accountants, the bankers.
The money. Yeah.
Right. They're all getting paid through this. The contractors.
Yeah.
It's all big, you know, and do we go to politics again?
Well, you know what? We've seen some things happening. I saw the announcement about next year as far as people's records, right?
Yes.
What was the new law?
Clean slate?
The Clean Slate, yes.
Clean Slate Act. Shout out to my girl, Sheena Mead. She heads up Clean State. But people's records will be expunged. And New York State has had, you know, good expunging stuff and good laws and that. But we got to keep
going. But it does show you, like I said, it's slow, but things can happen. But people do have to actively participate and push for those things and know what you're asking for.
Yes.
You know, as well.
And don't settle for less.
Exactly. Well, Erica, always a pleasure talking to you. And
Likewise.
I cannot wait for us to figure out some more things that we could do, and for good news. Because every time I see you, what I love is when you're like, we just got some good news today, or we have some good news on the way. So that attitude is definitely protecting your peace. And we got to protect you also.
Thank you.
All right, it's Way Up with Angela Yee, Erica Ford.